CWDP-305 exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. During a wireless design project for a museum, the customer requests that access points remain visually discrete but must still provide reliable RF performance. Which design approach should be recommended? A. Install APs inside metal enclosures to prevent visibility. B. Mount APs between walls and structural beams to hide them. C. Deploy legacy 802.11b APs to match the environment's aesthetics. D. Use aesthetic plastic enclosures that blend in without blocking RF signals. The answer is D. APs should remain unobtrusive in sensitive environments like museums, but they must still deliver optimal RF coverage. Plastic enclosures can disguise APs without causing significant RF attenuation, unlike metal or wall placement which blocks signal propagation. An engineering firm replaced its 9802.11n access points with 9802.11 AC access points. The same channel plan and transmit power settings were kept. However, the overall WLAN throughput shows no noticeable improvement. What is the most likely cause? AAPs are configured with lower transmit power than before. B. Client devices still support only 802.11n. CAPs were wall-mounted instead of ceiling-mounted. D. The APs are only using the lower 5 GHz band channels. The answer is B. Throughput gains from 802.11 AC require compatible client devices. If clients are not upgraded, they continue to connect using 802.11n capabilities, negating the benefits of newer APs. While connected to a public Wi-Fi network with several other users, you attempt a ping sweep of the local subnet but receive no responses from client devices. Which WLAN feature is most likely enabled to prevent direct communication between wireless clients? A. Peer-to-peer client blocking. B. OSPF external route filtering. C. Band steering. D. Load balancing. The answer is A. Public Wi-Fi networks often enable peer-to-peer blocking, also known as client isolation, to prevent devices on the same SSID from communicating directly. This improves security and privacy by forcing all client traffic to traverse the AP and upstream network rather than communicating locally. A consultant is deploying 802.11 AX Wi-Fi 6E access points in the 6 GHz band and suggests using WPA2 personal security for a VoIP-enabled SSID. Why is this recommendation invalid? WPA2 personal results in slower roaming performance compared to WPA2 Enterprise. B. WPA2 personal is not supported on 802.11 AX in any frequency band. C. WPA2 personal is not permitted for WLANs operating in the 6 GHz band. D. VoIP applications require opportunistic wireless encryption, O. The answer is C. The 6 GHz band, Wi-Fi 6E, mandates WPA3 security. WPA2, either personal or enterprise, is not allowed for 6 GHz operation. Using WPA2 personal would violate 6 GHz regulatory and Wi-Fi alliance requirements. WPA3 personal or WPA3 enterprise must be used instead. You are designing a VOWLAN that requires a minimum SNR of 25 decibels. Your site survey shows the ambient noise floor is -88 dBm. What minimum received signal strength, RSSI, must be achieved to meet the requirement? A. -70 dBm. B. -67 dBm. C. -65 dBm. D. -63 dBm. The answer is D. SNR equals RSSI minus noise. Therefore, RSSI equals noise plus SNR equals -88 dBm plus 25 decibels equals -63 dBm. This is the minimum RSSI to hit 25 decibels SNR for VOWLAN. During the design of an enterprise VOWLAN deployment, the WLAN must prioritize voice traffic to maintain call quality. Which WMM access category, AC, should be configured for voice packets? AAC_V, video. BAC_VO, voice. CAC_B, best effort. DAC_BK, background. The answer is B. WMM defines 4 access categories: voice, AC_VO, video, AC_V, best effort, AC_B, and background, AC_BK. For VOWLAN, voice traffic must use AC_VO, which provides the lowest latency and highest priority for reliable real-time communication. While preparing to use a WLAN design tool that supports RF propagation modeling, what key steps should be completed before placing APs, antennas, and attenuation objects such as walls? A. Configure the transmit power of all APs in the design tool. B. Upload environment photographs for visual context. C. Immediately begin placing APs, antennas, and wall attenuators. D. Calibrate the floor plan to ensure scale accuracy. The answer is D. Calibration of the floor plan is essential in RF modeling. If the scale is incorrect, distance measurements and RF propagation will be inaccurate, leading to flawed WLAN designs. AP and wall placement must be based on an accurate floor plan scale. In a conference room, a customer reports that their 802.11n laptops cannot detect the SSID on the 5 GHz band, while your 802.11 AC laptop connects successfully. What is the most likely cause? A. The AP is configured to use channel 36. B. The customer laptops do not support OFDM. C. The AP is operating on channel 144. D. The customer laptops are single-stream, SISO, clients. The answer is C. Some early 802.11n client devices do not support newer 5 GHz channels, like channel 144, which were introduced later. Modern 802.11 AC clients typically support the full range of 5 GHz channels, explaining why only your laptop connects successfully. When designing a static channel plan for a VoLAN deployment in an office near an airport, which range of 5 GHz channels should generally be avoided to prevent automatic channel switching due to dynamic frequency selection (DFS) requirements? A. Channels 36 to 40. B. Channels 44 to 48. C. Channels 116 to 124. D. Channels 1 to 11. The answer is C. DFS channels, usually 52 to 144, may be required to vacate if radar signals are detected, which can cause APs to switch channels automatically. Channels 116 to 124 fall within this DFS range, so for environments like near airports, avoiding these channels helps maintain stable voice performance. Channels 36 to 48 are non-DFS and safe for static voice deployments. In a WLAN design where APs are mounted on ceilings over 6 meters above floor level and client devices operate at floor level, which type of vertically polarized antenna is most appropriate? A. Patch antenna. B. Dish antenna. C. Grid antenna. D. Low-gain dipole antenna. The answer is D. For high ceiling deployments, a low-gain dipole antenna provides a wide, vertically oriented radiation pattern that ensures even coverage down to floor-level clients. High-gain or directional antennas like patch, dish, or grid would create narrow beams unsuitable for evenly covering floor-level devices.